Hello everybody. So today I want to do a quick little Mother's Day video. This is a quick little video to show you one of the ways that you can use your CNC to make money. A great way once you get going is to slowly build up your inventory of signs, and the way to do that is once a year, a special occasion, Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, Christmas especially, is develop a couple products. Don't feel like you've got to make 50, just make one, and then the next year rolls around, you've got that under your belt. So this is an example of something I did last year for Mother's Day. I ended up selling 10. I made one for my mother, took a picture of it, and put it online, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was closer to 8 or 9 or 10, but I've already sold 5 this year, and we're still a month away from Mother's Day, and I haven't really advertised it. So this is what we're gonna make. It's just a quick little 6 by 12 inch sign. It'll take 10 minutes to design. I'm gonna use Carveco Plus for the designing, but it can be designed in any software. There's no crazy 3D cutting, Toolpaths. So let's go ahead and start our sign. And the great thing about these signs is you can design an inventory of them. So today the sign we're going to be doing is going to say Nana on it. If you wanted to go ahead and make one that said Mom, Mommy, Grammy, you could make all those in advance and have them ready. So when a customer ordered one, you were just putting in your text. So there's our 6 by 12. We need a border around it. I will do probably 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to do that inward. So there's our box. So next we need to fill in the box with some text. Font is going to be up to you. For the interior font, I like to use something big and blocky. So we'll try to go here and find something that's nice and square, that stands out. It still looks half decent. We can try this one right here, and again we can try and see what we think. Let me change the size. You can see what you think if you want. You can highlight your text. If you don't like it, you can go back up and choose another font. Big. One here that worked before. We'll try this one rather than go over it and waste more time. We will pick this font. Okay, so we will create this before making changes. And now you can see the font obviously is too big. Let's just transform this, stretch it in. And depending on the word that you're putting in here, you will have to play with the font to get the proportionates correct. You might have to stretch it. I mean, you could stretch this technically all the way to the ends and put the word in there, but you might distort it to the point where it doesn't look good. So I like to just find a happy medium. You're better off to make it a little taller than you think, because our next step is going to be to put the bar in, and when you put the bar in, you will remove some of the details of the letters. So depending on what letter, what word you're using, you could take away. So let's just do this right quick. We'll do our bar here, create it. Obviously that's not the size we want, but let's go in and say the borders are 3/4 of an inch. Let's say an inch. Good. And just stretch it out. Now, if we play with the positioning of this, it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, but you want it somewhere where you can read the letters but it looks correct. Like you probably don't want to have it on the bottom, somewhere in the middle. Go back to my photo. You can actually see it's towards the bottom, and I probably did that so I didn't delete the G and the E. So if you move that bar up and covers the G now looks like an O. So let's stick with the middle. Let's bring it down. We're gonna lose the tips of the N, but we're gonna try to save some of the A to make it more obvious that it's an A. Okay, I'm happy with that. So let's go with that. Now we need to join everything so it's a single vector. The way I like to do this is with the trim tool. There are other ways. I just find it, this is my preference. So I'm going to keep my auto join selected. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. The text can't be edited right now because it is still technically a font. So you need to select it, go in, ungroup it, and now it's individual vectors. So you can go in and change. And actually, I'm going to go in. I'm going to take this A and move it over. Take this N and move it over. That way, I'm going to just make sure that we have enough room to get in between these letters. So there we go. Let's take our trim tool again. Let's go back in and trim our vectors off. So you can see we're losing the tips of the N. This little part of the N won't cut. I'm not worried about that. We still have a nice part of the A. You can still realize that that's an N. So I'm good with that. Yeah, almost there. There's our basic shape. If you wanted to, I would save this file, save it in a folder, call it Mother's Day sign Nana. That way you can come back and you can just plop text in there. You don't have to worry about editing, deleting files. You can just save this as an original piece of artwork. Come in, when you're done your changes, save it as a different name. So let's go ahead and add our inner text. In the middle, the two names. In this case, it's two names. Could be three, could be one. I tend to use a script just because I like the way it looks. You don't have to. You can use an engraving font or a thicker font or anything that's that suits your needs. So let's go ahead here. And let's pick a font. The problem with having 2,000 fonts on your computer is it gets hard to pick one. Here's one. Let's pick this one. So the name okay, so it looks pretty good. Spell it right. Create, and obviously we're going to have to change the size of this to fit our space. And depending on what font you use, if it's a script or not, a script, the newer style scripts I find tend to take up some more space with their extreme curves and little flares, but so I think that looks good. Just a little bit more. Okay, let's go with that. So again, now some of these newer style fonts aren't built all that well. So you'll have to watch it, and we'll have this overlapping text here. So we're gonna have to get rid of that. So again, we'll just pick it, ungroup, will select. You just want to select the outside of your letters. Go up here to vector, merge, weld. There it is, it's joined all the vectors. Same here. Vector, merge, weld, and there we go. So let's put some toolpaths on here. Should be pretty straightforward. Now, I am just going to move this up a little bit. So yeah, let's do this. So my material is going to be 3/4 of an inch. Let's set that up. It's already done. And what we want to do now is, first things first, we'll put an engraving path on this. So select our font, make sure we have everything selected. 2D engraving bit. Select my bit. I'm going to use a 30-degree bit. And call this text. And we'll hit calculate. Now, vectors. So here's a problem. Sometimes these fonts, the ones you'll get off the internet, especially the new script fonts, are horribly made. They're made to be fonts and type on signs and posters. They're not made to be vector files. So what we'll end up seeing a lot of this jagged stuff. And what ends up happening is that some of these vectors, there's one right there, if you look at the points, some of these vectors will actually overlap each other. So the easiest way to do that is take our little tool, trim that end off, and so if there's one E, there's going to be another E. No, there's no other E. Okay. So yeah, there's one right there. So what you want to do is check all your little points. That's not too bad. And they have to overlap in order for it to be a problem. I'm not sure exactly why this is, but I've noticed it with a lot of these scripty fonts. So let's just, for giggles, try it again. See if that fixed the problem. There we go, fixed the problem. So what you want to do to check it out is we'll go to our toolpath, we'll simulate the toolpath, and there is our script. Now, oops, I can just tell that I'm not getting much of a cut on the Thomas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and I'm going to take this one. It's pretty thin. Actually, a lot of these are pretty thin. Let's do all of them. We're going to take all our letters. Let's take the whole thing. And we're going to offset it very slightly. So 0.001. Set it outwards. We're going to delete our original vector. And we're just going to hit go. And you'll see the font is just going to get a little bit thicker. Hard to tell, actually. Try one more time. Wasn't too bad. So let's go back, redo our toolpath, and see if we get anything different. Go here, and go right over top of what we had before. It's hard to tell. I've got a not the greatest setting on here for looking at this, but what we want to do with this is you're just looking to get basically a difference of color, because this is going to be a darker color. We want that just to cut through, and it should. And I mean, an easy way to adjust this as you're going is you could slightly, if you cut it and you're not crazy about it, you want a little bit deeper, just set your depth of your Z a little bit deeper. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to adjust it on the machine if I have to. Let's just go to the next step. So the next easy one, we'll go to our material outside edge. I need a cut path to cut that out. So we'll go to our toolpath profile. This is 3/4 inch oak. So I know I'm going to use a 1/4 inch down cut. Settings are already in there. I will hit cut. And there's our profile to cut it. Next is our pocket. Now I'm going to see if a 1/4 inch will give me enough detail in here. I'm pretty sure it won't. But an 1/8 of an inch is going to be too much work to clear this pocket out. So actually let's just do both of them at the same time because I already know. So click these two pockets. We'll go to our toolpath. We're going to do an area clearance. And I'm going to add two tools. I'm going to add the 1/4 inch. And I'm going to add an 1/8 inch. And we need a depth. So I'm going to say that's 1/4 inch. You know what? Just for the sake of it, let's just go 0.2. It's just more to give the sign a little bit of depth. It's, you know, you could go deeper if you'd like. It's just more work and more machine time. And for me, I get the same result. It's all about the look rather than that's a 1/2 inch hole versus a 1/4 inch hole. So for our strategy, I will be going offset, and I will call this one pocket. So you can see where the 1/8 inch bit goes, assuming it does here, and these pockets kind of sharpens the pockets up. This step over here is a 1/4 inch bit. So let's just simulate this. We'll simulate all the tool paths. It'll show us our final product. So my first impressions is these little holes of the A's don't look as good as they should. I'll leave it, and if I don't like it, I'll just add another quick little tool path. I can add a 1/16 bit in there, but it gets the point across, I think. So I'll save these tool paths over and we'll get this cut out. Okay, so let's quickly go over the bits we're going to use for this. This is going to be hardwood. I prefer to use a downcut bit. Reason being that the downcut bit, the spiral will push the fibers of the wood down into the wood. You'll get less tear out using this. You'll also have to pay attention to your feeds and speeds, your step over, because a downcut bit, if you're going too fast, too aggressive, this will change the planned tool path of what you're trying to do. It'll actually push the bit up. It'll push it over a little bit, so you need to pay attention. When you get a step around your letters, when you're using a big bit like this, a downcut, that's the most reason. Next, I'll go over with an 1/8 inch downcut bit. This will simply go over to where the 1/4 inch couldn't get. That'll make it a lot easier, it'll clean it up. And the last one will be this 60-degree engraving bit, do our text. So that's it. And then the next step will be to cut it out with the 1/4 inch, but those are the 3 bits. Pretty easy. Okay, here's our piece of wood. This is a piece of yellow birch that I had as a rough cut piece. This is actually a piece that was off right here. I only need 12 by 6 inches. This is all extra. I'll just use this for holding down. So I've never actually done this with yellow birch. I've always used oak and maple, but we'll give it a shot, see what happens. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to just rough it over a little bit with 120 grit. Okay. So this is a nice piece of wood. There's a couple ways I can do this. I'm going to try this. I've never tried this with birch. Works well with oak, but we're going to give her a little burn. All right. Make sure that I've got enough. Now I'm going to go back over it with the 120 grit again. It's different. Oak has a lot more open grain. This is a pretty hard, tight grain wood. But we'll give it a shot and see what it looks like. So next we're going to do is we're going to put it in the machine and cut it out. Okay, so here's our piece. Here's the CNC. A couple different ways I can hold this down. I could use my clamps, but my thought is where my sime is going to be quite large compared to the piece of wood. I'm a little nervous that the dust boot will hit the clamp, screw everything up. So I'm going to use some tape and some CA glue. This works awesome. So first thing you want to do, basically make sure that your bed is clean. Back of our board. Board this size will do 2 pieces. I prefer to use the blue 3M painter's tape. And it works great. It's a little more expensive, but it does what I need, and that's kind of important. So what I'd normally do to line up the tape is I'll choose a row of dots on my foil board. I'll use that as my first line. And you can see my spoil board is quite worn. I've never had a problem. The glue takes up the space. Next, I'll use this just as a guide to kind of let me know where to put it. So I'm going to be 1/2 inch down from that row. Next, we'll put some CA glue down. And this is, if I did this all the time, I would add this into the price of the jobs. This is a, not costly, but it does add a cost to each project if you're selling these. Just keep that in mind. I think for me, I'm here in Canada, this is $25 or $30. Next, take our board, put some activator on this side. Make sure you don't spray it on there. It does evaporate, so you do want to kind of make sure you get it wet. That might be too much. And then now that is stuck. It's not going anywhere. That's that part. Now, if you remember when we set up our file, I chose the center origin point. That's fine. What I probably should have done is picked the bottom left. But now I've got to measure. So rather than mark on the wood, I'm going to use some tape. And I'm just going to eyeball where I think center is going to be. And I'll use that. I'll use my ruler and figure it out. So I know my sign is 6 by 12, so. And the bad thing about doing this is if you ever lose your origin, if you're halfway through the cut and you've cut your center, you're done. But with my machine, I don't have to recenter. I don't have to reposition every bit. I just do it once. I can run my 3-4 toolpaths and I'm good. If you have to recenter, I would obviously pick an area off the material, off your work area. So if your sign's here, I would pick one to the left that you're not going to touch. That's how easy that comes off. Looks like a little bit of glue came through, so I'll have to sand that off. But here we are. Now, what I normally like to do is put some type of oil or finish on here. I'm not quite sure what kind. So I'm going to grab the old piece or the offcut and try a few different oils on it and see which one works best. So here's our offcut. I got a few. I'm gonna try shellac, and then I've got a natural oil finish, and I might try just mineral oil. See what happens. Chances are they're all gonna look the same. The nice thing about the shellac is it dries really fast. That's some nice wood. You can see that. So I think we got a winner. Just from those two, I find the natural oil finish really brings out the color in the wood, makes the burn a little bit darker, so I'm going to go with that. I might have to use a brush to get in there. There we are. So there we are. We have a finished product. All in all, if we take in all our time, we've got about 10-15 minutes of design time. And if you made a lot of these, you could narrow that down to a couple minutes, just replacing the names. We had about 20 minutes on the machine, 5 minutes for sanding in between, before we put it on, and then now after. Another 5 minutes to finish it. And I could sell these for $50 to the right person, depending on the wood. If you want to bump it up and use a little bit nicer wood, charge a little bit more. You could go down, you could use pine. You could paint this top layer, leave this bottom layer plain wood, and not finish it at all. So you could have these, pumping out, every 20 minutes to a finished product. So hope that helps somebody. Any questions? Let me know, leave a comment. Thanks a lot. Hey guys, I just realized where I made a mistake in this one. It's been about a year since I've made these, obviously, since last Mother's Day. Normally I finish the top, and when I cut through the second layer, I don't put any finish on it. That way you get the contrast in the two colors. So give it a shot, hope it helps.